Welcome to Rabai's Story, where every tale is a gift, told under the rhythm of rain and the roar of thunder. Settle in, let the storm surround you, and let the story unfold. Enjoy the ride. I had just moved into the apartment 2 weeks ago. It was a modest one-bedroom on the top floor of an old building, the kind with creaky floorboards and peeling wallpaper. But it was affordable, and I was desperate to get out of the chaos of my old place. The first few days were uneventful. I unpacked, set up my things, and spent my evenings watching TV and reading. The apartment was quiet, too quiet sometimes, but I liked it that way. The city noise was muffled by the thick walls, and I enjoyed the solitude. One evening, I decided to sit by the window. The apartment was high up, and the view stretched out over the city, the lights twinkling below like a million tiny stars. I always found it peaceful. So much movement, yet so much stillness from up here. That's when I saw her. She was standing in the window of the building across the street. At first I thought she was just another person going about their business. Maybe someone getting ready to turn in for the night. She wasn't doing anything particularly strange. In fact, I almost didn't notice her at all. But then as I stared a little longer, something felt off. She was perfectly still, standing in front of the window, staring out. I couldn't see her face clearly, just the outline of her figure. She had long, dark hair and was wearing a white blouse, which made her stand out in the dim light. I tried to shrug it off, thinking it was just another resident in the building. But for some reason, I couldn't look away. I kept glancing over at her window every few minutes, and she was still there, standing motionless, as if she was waiting for something or someone. The strange thing was that no one else seemed to be in the room. There were no lights, no other movement. It was just her. I told myself it was nothing. People stand by their windows all the time, right? It's just an odd coincidence that she was still there. But the more I looked, the more it bothered me. Something in the stillness of her presence felt wrong. I tried to forget about it, but that night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the silhouette of the woman in the window. I would snap awake and glance across the street, but the room would be dark, and she would be gone. But by the next evening, she was back. I didn't know why I was watching her. I didn't want to, yet I found myself drawn to the window again. This time, I tried to look for any details that might explain her behavior. The apartment building across the street had a series of windows lit up, but her window remained dark, the same way it had the night before. And there she was again, standing in front of the glass. At this point, I couldn't deny it. Something wasn't right. I felt an overwhelming urge to go over there, knock on the door, and ask if she was okay, but I couldn't. I didn't know why, I just couldn't move. Then, after what seemed like hours of staring, the woman did something unexpected. She raised one hand and placed it against the window. Her face was still hidden in shadow, but I could feel her eyes on me. I froze. I hadn't been looking at her for long, but somehow I knew she was aware of me. I quickly pulled away from the window, heart pounding in my chest. My mind raced. What was going on? Why was she doing this? That night, I tried to ignore it. I pulled the blinds down on my own window and went to bed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that she was still there, watching. It felt like something was pressing in on me, like I wasn't alone in my apartment anymore. Around 3 a.m., I woke up to the sound of scratching. Faint at first, almost imperceptible. I sat up in bed, listening, trying to place the sound. It came again, scratching, followed by a soft tapping. It was coming from the wall next to the window. My breath hitched as I stood up, unsure if I should investigate. Was it the wind? Was something outside making the noise? But as I crept toward the window, the scratching became louder, more frantic, like nails dragging across the wood. I pulled the blinds open, and the world outside seemed different. The lights of the city were now blurred, like someone had smeared Vaseline over the glass. And then I saw her again. But this time, she was in my window. The woman stood just on the other side of the glass, her face pale and ghostly, her eyes wide and dark. Her mouth was stretched in a grotesque grin. Her skin was almost translucent, and I could see the veins beneath it, blue and twisted like a spider's web. I couldn't scream. I was paralyzed, unable to look away. She pressed her hand against the glass again, just like she had the night before, but this time I could see her fingers curling, stretching, like something unnatural. My heart raced as the glass vibrated with the force of her presence. She moved closer, her breath fogging the glass. And then, in a voice that was a whisper and a scream all at once, she spoke. "I've been waiting for you." I backed away from the window, scrambling to turn away, to escape, but it was too late. The blinds were ripped open, the window shattered, the woman stepped inside, her body contorting unnaturally as she crawled through, and then everything went black. The next morning, I woke up on the floor, cold sweat soaking my clothes. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I looked out the window, my heart still hammering in my chest. The building across the street was empty. All the windows were dark, there was no sign of the woman. I haven't seen her since that night, but sometimes when I'm alone in my apartment, I can still hear the scratching, and when I look at the window, I swear I can feel her eyes on me, waiting.